Hi everyone, this is Kalyan Kumar this side and welcome back to Chemistry Universe. And with this video, we are going to kick off biomolecules. And the first biomolecule that we will be dealing with are called carbohydrates. And in this particular video, we will be talking about the introduction to carbohydrates, its definitions, as well as the various types of classification that we can make on carbohydrates. Now, in biomolecules, we'll be dealing with, as I said, this particular set of videos. I think there'll be around 12 videos. We'll be talking about carbohydrates, then we talk about proteins, and which will also involve amino acids. Then we talk about nucleic acids. We talk about enzymes. We talk about hormones. And so generally, these are the biomolecules that we will be dealing with in this lesson. And this is a very important part of the syllabus for various entrance exam as well as your school boards. So make sure that you watch them properly, you make your notes, and make sure to visit www.chemistryuniverse.com. And in that, you first have to log in, and it'll ask you for your email ID, and then you get a passcode and you can log in for free. And you can watch all these videos properly cataloged along with the PDF of every video that every presentation that I'm going to use. You'll find the corresponding PDF there. And very soon I'll be also putting in questions of each of these lessons. That will be a separate set of videos also, where I'll be putting video solutions. But these solutions will only be available in the website. So if you're already here, you can watch it here, or you can head down to chemistryuniverse.com and you can watch the same video with the same chapter markers in the description, as well as the fact that you can download the relevant PDF. So with that out of the way, let's get the ball rolling. Let's start with carbohydrates. This is part 1, introduction to carbohydrates and classification. All right, so introduction to carbohydrates. So first we will look at how carbohydrates were initially defined and what carbohydrates are. So we'll look at the old definition. Now the term carbohydrates comes from the fact that they were considered to be hydrates of carbon with general formula CxH2OY. Now what you need to understand is anything that you could write as CX H2O times Y was considered as a carbohydrate according to the old definition. So that's why it's called carbon hydrates. So they were called carbohydrates. But besides the formula, what are they? Let's find out. Carbohydrates are naturally occurring compounds which are constantly produced in nature and participate in many important biochemical reactions. So these are compounds which were not synthesized in the lab, they were available in nature. And so these were constantly synthesized in nature and very useful in many of the biochemical reactions in the body. The fact that we get energy, we know that we get energy from glucose. It's a carbohydrate. And we can take glucose as it is. We can take glucose in the form of cane sugar, that is sucrose. So all of these were considered as carbohydrates. And all of them conformed to the formula CxH2OY. Now, example, of course, glucose and fructose are the same formula C6H12O6. And if you were to write it as CxH2OY, you will notice I can write it as C6H2O6. Now, of course, it's not necessary that these two have to be same. Here, by coincidence, they are. You can also have cellulose and starch. Both of them are C6H2O5 n times. And if I were to write it in the form of hydrates, it will be C6H2O5 n times. Then you have sucrose, cane sugar, maltose, malt sugar, and they are C12H22O11N, which can be written as C12H2O times 11 times. Now, this was okay, but the problem was there are many compounds which shows chemical behavior of carbohydrates but do not conform to this particular general formula. So there are a lot of carbohydrates which don't conform to this formula, which we call today as carbohydrates because we've changed the definition obviously, and which don't conform to the formula of CxH2OY. So even though the name stuck as carbohydrates, they're not technically carbohydrates in the sense of the formula. For example, you can have 2-deoxyribose, which is C5H2O4. Now, there is no way you can write this as C5H2O what? To make H10, you need 5, but O is only 4. So you won't be able to write it as CxH2OY. There's another one called rhamnose, which is C6H12O5. Then there is rhamnohexose, which is C7H14O6. On top of that, there are many compounds which follow the formula of CXH2OY, but they are not carbohydrates. So the other set is also present. These do have this formula of CXH2OY, but they don't behave like carbohydrates. They are way different from them. So they're not carbohydrates. So the fact that there has to be a general formula for carbohydrate itself is not going to work. For example, look at formaldehyde. It is HCHO, which can be written as CH2O, but it's not a carbohydrate. Look at acetic acid. See, it works, the formula works, but it's not a carbohydrate. In fact, it's an acid. Lactic acid. Not a carbohydrate. So this definition requires obviously some kind of refinement. So what is the modern definition now? The modern definition says carbohydrates are now defined as the polyhydroxycarbonyl compounds. Read this very carefully. Carbohydrates are now defined as the polyhydroxy. You understand polyhydroxy? Many OH. Carbonyl compounds, meaning it should be an aldehyde or a ketone, or compounds which give these polyhydroxycarbonyl compounds on hydrolysis. Very important for you to understand this. So they are either themselves polyhydroxycarbonyl compound. That means every carbon on them has OH, and they are an aldehyde or a ketone. Other than the aldehyde and ketone carbon, everything has an OH. Or it could be a compound which doesn't have this feature, but on hydrolysis can give these. So they are polyhydroxycarbonyl compounds, or those which on hydrolysis can give you polyhydroxycarbonyl compounds. Now, carbohydrates are either monomers, also known as monosaccharides, which can exist in both open chain or ring form, or as dimers, disaccharides, trimers, trisaccharides, or polymers, polysaccharides of closed ring form. Now, this is what we'll be studying quite a lot. Carbohydrates can exist both in open chain and ring form. Okay. It is the open chain which is the polyhydroxycarbonyl compound, and it is the ring form which is not a carbonyl compound. It is polyhydroxy, however, but it does not have a carbonyl group, but on hydrolysis gives the carbonyl group. So you have monosaccharides, which are the basic units. They're monomers. Then when two monomers combine, disaccharides. And whenever they combine, and as I said, they can exist both in open chain and ring form. You'll find the ring form to be always the major one compared to the open chain. So the ring form two of them can combine and you can get a disaccharide. Three of them can combine, you can get a trisaccharide. And several can combine and you can get a polysaccharide. All right. So let's see the classification. Now, there are various ways of classifying. You can classify them based on the number of monosaccharide units present. That means you can simply take the number of basic units that it has, the monomers, and you can use that as classification. For example, monosaccharides. These are the basic units themselves. So these are sugars which cannot be hydrolyzed into smaller molecules as they are monomer units. They are the simplest carbohydrates. Now please understand. I've used the word sugars and I'll explain what sugars mean later. But for the time being, just assume that monosaccharides are the basic units. They cannot be broken down into 2 or 3 units because they are the monomers themselves. Now here it says they cannot be hydrolyzed into multiple units. But however, this hydrolysis has nothing to do with the definition of carbohydrates, where it says that even those compounds which can be hydrolyzed to carbonyl compounds are also carbohydrates. So monosaccharides are carbohydrates. They exist in the ring form and the open chain form. Open chain form has the carbonyl group. The ring form does not have, but on hydrolysis, it will become the open chain form. But you get only one open chain form. So you don't get 2 different monomer units because this itself is the monomer. Then obviously, an example of this would be glucose and fructose and ribose and stuff like that. Then you have oligosaccharides, the ones which contain around 2 to 10 units. These are the sugars which are made up of 2 to 10 monosaccharide units. And they can be further, they can be further categorized as disaccharides, meaning these are made up of 2 monosaccharide units, or when they are hydrolyzed, they give 2 monosaccharides. So when they are broken down, they give you 2 monosaccharides. And these 2 monosaccharides may be same or different. For example, if you take cane sugar, it is made up of glucose and fructose. These are monomers, these are monosaccharides. They combine to give you cane sugar or sucrose. So sucrose is a disaccharide. Then you have a trisaccharide. Now obviously these are made up of 3 monosaccharide units, or when they are hydrolyzed, they'll give you 3 monosaccharides. And example is raffinose, and it is made up of a monomer called glucose. It's called made up of fructose. They all have the same formula, but they are isomers of each other. Then you have galactose, and they form raffinose with water, which is why the reverse is called the hydrolysis, and that hydrolysis will take them and give you all these 3 units. And then we have polysaccharides. Now these are non-sugars. So now you start wondering what are sugars. We'll tell you that. These are non-sugars which are made up of several monosaccharide units. Example is starch and cellulose. And you have basically glucose turning into starch. So there are n number of glucose units stitched to form a polymer called starch with NH2O. So that is one type of classification based on the number of monomer units. Second is based on taste. This is where you understand what is sugar. Sugars. Obviously, these are sweet in taste. We know that. They're sweet in taste, crystalline in nature, and soluble in water. Now, when we say sugars, don't always assume it is the common sugar that we use at home. Okay? We're not talking about cane sugar all the time. Sugars are all of those carbohydrates which taste sweet. And by the way, all the monomers taste sweet. Not just glucose. You have fructose which tastes sweet. You have other monosaccharides that taste sweet. So just because they taste sweet does not mean they are sugar in the cane sugar sense. In the normal sugar that we use, no. That is in fact a disaccharide, which also tastes sweet. So everything that tastes sweet can be categorized under sugars. All right. Then obviously non-sugars, they are tasteless, amorphous solids, they are non-crystalline and are insoluble in water. they yield many sweet monosaccharides on acidic hydrolysis. Say, for example, starch. If I do the reverse of starch hydrolysis, I get back glucose, which are sweet. And obviously, this is not M, this is N. Okay. Same number of units. Okay. Then you have based on functional groups. Now, basically, you can divide the carbohydrates into two sets based on functional group. One contains the aldehyde unit aldoses. If CHO group is present in the monosaccharide, then it is known as aldose. The minimum number of carbons in a monosaccharide is 3. Remember, the minimum number of carbons that you will have in a monosaccharide is 3. So, and one of them happens to be the aldehyde part. That's the minimum number. You can have more than that. You can have 4, you can have 5, you can have 6. Minimum is 3. And these are called, of course, aldotriose. You can call them as aldotriose. Similarly, you have aldotetrose, pentose, aldohexose, are all the aldoses with 4, 5, 6 carbon atoms respectively. But one of them happens to be CHO. The second category is the ketoses. They will contain a keto group. And the monosaccharide ketoses are primary alpha hydroxy ketone. What this means is that you have a ketone and on the primary carbon you have a hydroxyl group. This is the terminal carbon. So it's a primary alpha. This is right next to the functional group. Hydroxy ketone. Okay. And of course, when we see the structures, you'll understand more. Ketoses with 3 carbons are known as ketotriose, ketotetrose, ketopentose, ketohexose, based on 4, 5, 6 carbon atoms. Okay. And the other way of classifying them is reducing and non-reducing. And this is where it gets interesting. Now, I want you to understand this very carefully. When I say reducing and non-reducing, what I mean is that when you react a carbohydrate with Fehling solution or Tollens reagent, remember we've done all of this in aldehyde ketone, and you find that they react, meaning they get oxidized and they reduce the Tollens reagent, they reduce the Fehling's reagent, they will be called reducing sugars. If they don't, they're called non-reducing. So now you will probably wonder, what do you mean by reducing and non-reducing? Well, this is what I mean here. And please listen to this very carefully. It's very important to understand. You will understand a bit of it detail when we do the structures, because everything is related to structure. So say, for example, you have a CHO. Let's take the simplest carbohydrate. You have something like this, something like this. And as long as you have an aldehyde group, it will give you Fehling solution and Tollens test. Ketoses, well, ketoses are alpha hydroxy ketones, if you remember. This is the simplest ketose, okay? So this is an alpha hydroxy ketone. And remember, alpha hydroxy ketones, primary alpha hydroxy ketones, do give you the positive test for Tollens and Fehlings. So if you take these, they are reducing. Now, this is the open chain structure. When they are in the ring structure, so I'll have to show you one carbohydrate. So let's take, for example, the most commonly used one, glucose. This is glucose. Don't worry, we'll study the details later. We'll study the details later. And there are 6 carbon atoms. And of course, this OH is right, this is left, this is right, right. Now, this is the open chain. It will give you, it will be reducing, okay? But majority of this will be existing in the ring form. Now, what is the ring form? Now, if you remember CHO, let me just, now, the CHO, remember in aldehyde and ketones, we talked about forming hemiacetal and acetal. You don't just go back right now and check that, because that's very vital for you to understand. So if you don't remember acetal, hemiacetal, go back to aldehyde and ketone. In the reactions, you will see that. Have a look at that, or check your notes, then come back, and till then pause the video, check that and come back, because it's very, very vital. So what happens is that this OH, and basically acetals and ketones are formed when alcohols react with aldehydes and ketones. Okay. So this guy already has an alcoholic group. It has an aldehyde group. So they form a intramolecular hemiacetal. When I say hemiacetal, acetal is formed when two alcohols react with aldehyde. When one alcohol reacts, it's a hemiacetal. And the difference will be this O will form an ether linkage with this carbon, and this H will be taken up by this O, and this will become a single bond. So carbon with a single OH and an ester kind of a linkage. This is hemiacetal. And if it were a ketone, it would be hemiketal. However, if there are two ethers, you have one ether and one alcohol, hemiacetal. And that is if this is an H. If this also becomes an ether, the other one, reaction with two alcohols, then it will be called acetal. Now the difference between hemiacetal and acetal is acetals hydrolyze into their corresponding aldehyde or ketone in acidic medium. Whereas hemiacetals and hemiketals will hydrolyze to their respective aldehydes and ketones even in basic medium. So those carbohydrates which have the ring structure having a hemiacetal or a hemiketal, and this is how the ring forms. It will form hemiacetal or hemiketal. If they contain a hemiacetal or a hemiketal, then that would be able to react with Fehling's reagent or Tollens reagent, because they can get hydrolyzed even basic medium also. So first of all, what will happen is the basic medium of the Fehling solution will convert them into the open structure. The open structure will further react with the Fehling's reagent to give the reddish brown precipitate. So it's a reducing sugar. But if there are two, and therefore all monosaccharides will be reducing, because all of them will form this, even if they form the ring, they'll form the hemiacetal or the hemiketal ring. But when two monomers join, they can join at this OH, or they can join at any other OH. They will also form ether linkage. The OH of one monosaccharide and the OH, the H of the OH of the other monosaccharide will form water, and the O will get linked to both carbon atoms. So it will form another ether. So if they attach themselves with some other OH, that means these hemiacetals will remain as it is, reducing sugar. But if they were to attach with this OH, and this OH is given a special name, anomeric OH, which we'll see later. So if they attach with this, then this carbon ends up having two ethers. That would make it an acetal, and acetals would be non-reducing. So how you understand this? So watch this part carefully if you want to understand this again. Details you will realize more and more as we do the structures of carbohydrates. But remember, when the carbohydrates exist in the ring form, and if they exist in the form of a hemiacetal or a hemiketal, they will hydrolyze, they will react with Fehling's and Tollens, because in basic medium also they hydrolyze. Once they form an acetal, that means it should be at least a disaccharide. Now, it is possible that disaccharide can also be reducing, because it doesn't use that particular OH, which had the ether carbon. So it doesn't really matter. But if you find that the connection in the disaccharide happens to be with that OH, the new OH that is created in the formation of hemiacetal, then it will end up becoming an acetal. It will be non-reducing. All right. So reducing sugars. These sugars which reduce Tollens reagent or Fehling solution of Benedict's are called reducing sugars. They contain either an aldehyde or an alpha hydroxyketone or cyclic hemiacetal or hemiketal or structure in equilibrium with open chain form having a free aldehyde or ketone group, because the aldehyde and ketone group will keep getting consumed and the equilibrium will keep shifting. And in fact, these are the ones, this cyclic hemiacetal and hemiketal are the ones that do this. All monosaccharides, glucose, fructose, both aldoses and ketoses, and disaccharides except sucrose, like lactose and maltose, are all reducing. Sucrose is not reducing because sucrose forms the bond with that OH, the hemiacetal OH. Non-reducing. These sugars which do not reduce, these reagents are non-reducing. They contain a stable acetal or a ketal structure which cannot be opened into a free carbonyl compound in basic medium, example sucrose. So the simplest is the 3-carbon aldotriose is CHO, CH2, OHH. Remember, we said this as D-glyceraldehyde. Remember? When we did isomers, we did this. And that sort of ends the introduction and classification of carbohydrates. So I hope you understood most of the stuff we talked about. Watch this video. It would take a little bit of time for you to get hang of something totally new. So if you can get that, great. And we'll try to make sure that you understand everything. And if you have any questions regarding this, you can put that in the comment section below. With that, this is Kalyan Kumar signing off. Have a great and wonderful day and catch you in the next one.